impossible task for Cham.
Yeah. Worth mentioning, he is still in Korea as far as I'm aware. Of course, he did just play into GSL and everything, so I'd hope he hadn't left the last 12 hours. But down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, on top of being in Korea, he is spawning on the south side. He is Special from Team Exxon. Spawning in that Dorito red.
And his opponent in the top left-hand side, not only his teammate from Team Exxon, but his countryman from our neighbors to the south. It's our Blue Zerg player, Cham.
All right. Submarine, you and I were talking a little bit about this, and so was Smix, how this was going to be the first map in this best of 5, and we've seen it a lot more today. I think we've actually may have seen it as many times today as we've seen it the entirety of DreamHack so far. So
definitely
a little bit crazy.
Stream. Yeah, I know the A stream has seen it, I believe, unless I missed it, I think twice on the A stream and once on the B stream until today. And now we've seen it thrice on the A stream alone today. So who knows what's inspiring the players to take this smaller, slightly more aggressive, fighty sort of map. But as you noted, Special was the one who actually chose this map.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense. This is definitely a map that usually Terrans feel more comfortable on. It's a short distance across the map, so things like, oh, I have to do this very long push out and worry about a lot of creep spread and everything. It's so difficult to make my way over to the Zerg side and actually get damage done to their bases with all this creep spread. Like, that stuff is not as much of a problem because there's just not that much creep to spread. There's not that large of a map to spread the creep anyways. All these kind of rally-in pushes and everything, the units just get, the reinforcements get there a lot faster. And usually it is the Terran player that's kind of dictating the pace of a lot of that aggression. So I'm expecting that Special's going to feel much more comfortable on this map as it was, like you said, his first pick for the map. It's going to be a tough start here for Cham.
Yeah, I like what Cham's doing, already expanding to that third location as soon as he has those 300 minerals saved up. He's already got that drone in place, just trying to keep it safe. The really early drone pull, of course, preventing that rebirth. Right now, Special's like, okay, I'm waiting for your drone to go down to the the third, and I'll catch it on its way out. But little does he know that Cham's already got that third down. So a nice play from Cham. Get his third base down in a timely manner as Special's natural finishes up on the other side of the map.
That is not the normal building to be making at this point, Creighton Olsen. That is the Ghost Academy. We were about to see one of the really weirdest kind of all-ins, where basically you usually get up the Hellions, you run them in. Sometimes I think that they might be Hellbats, and you use the Ghosts to snipe off the Queens to basically insta one-hit kill them, and then you just kill them with Hellions. Like, oh my god, I can't believe we're seeing this for game 1.
This is amazing. I actually have seen Special do this build before, and of course he executes it like a madman. He's so good. As soon as that Tech Lab finishes up on the barrack, we should see the Ghosts starting to roll out here very quickly. And as you said, the Ghosts use their snipe to take out the Queens, but then what a lot of people forget is that Ghosts actually have insane DPS behind that. Their shots do a ton of damage. So even though they're a bit more slow firing, they're still very valuable to have in a small army composition like this because their DPS really does pay off in small army compositions. So first Ghost on the way, first Viking on the way, and oh, Juanito, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Oh, okay, so the Overlord is actually going to make it in here at the perfect time. It's not just, oh, I see a Tech Lab on the barracks. It's, I see a Ghost coming out and killing my Overlord. And I'm actually, I'm not 100% sure I agree with the response for Cham. Like, I get it. I don't think it's a terrible idea. But here's the funny thing. Baneling Nest. Banelings do not kill Ghosts very quickly. You'd think, oh, the Ghosts are just these little guys. They got like a, I don't know, some saran wrap coating around them. Like, they don't actually look very beefy. They don't look armored or super healthy, but they tank damage versus Banelings because Banelings do extra damage to light. Ghosts are actually not light units.
That's right. It's one of the very few times when StarCraft doesn't provide the affordances that you would expect in its game. Affordance is generally a game design term that just means something tells you how to interact with it. So if you look at a Thor, you're like, man, that is armored, it's mechanical, it's beefy, it's got a lot of hit points. I know what it does. Most units in StarCraft are so good at that, and as you said, ghosts are the one where casual viewers might think, oh yeah, they're pretty easy to kill. Not the case, and here we go. Special moving in, the Viking to start sniping down Overlords, and here we go.
Snipe number 1's gonna come out, and snipe number 2 roast and toast another one of those queens. Some of the queens are already getting pretty low in hit points, and actually one of the creep tumors even getting picked off over there just through the sheer raw splash damage coming out from those Hellions. Banelings waddling off of creep. Are they gonna be able to find connections? Well, the Lings are actually getting some decent surrounds over here. Honestly, not too bad of a cleanup there for Cham. Even keep some of these Banelings alive.
Yeah, that was a really nice flank, sending those Lings around the backside to try and trap Special up against a wall, exactly where you want to be. That's the great kind of move from Cham that shows that not only has he played Special before, he's keeping a cool head and a keen eye in this situation. He's not letting something like a Ghost Rush, which many players would panic about. He's not letting that just destroy him immediately.
I love this, actually. The idea of Ghost Drop Harass, where they're going in, sniping off an Overlord and backing off, like, that's actually so cute. But Cham's gonna ask for a really quick pause over here, as I believe he's just dealing with a few minor issues. But yeah, it's certainly an awkward spot. And you were mentioning that Viking as well, Creighton. It's actually pretty heavily supply blocked Cham at this point. He's got 5 Overlords on the way because he's so supply blocked at an awkward time when his lair just finished. This is Cham doing a really nice job, but he's still getting hit. He's still getting hit a little bit.
He really is. We're hopping back into game now, as it looks like Cham just needed a quick pause. I assume a cat was like standing on his keyboard or something. That's my usual go-to. I might have been watching too much of Zombie Grub streams, but that's what I always assume it is when players ask for a pause that's like 30 seconds or fewer. The Ghost from Special going to come back home now, 1-1 on the way. And this is one of the glorious things about this Ghost Harass, is that it transitions pretty easily into bio. Because what do you need for bio? Oh, I need a tech lab on a barracks to do stim. Oh, good, it's already done. I need a barracks. Good, it's already done, you know? So Special, a really smooth transition here into his bio play, and I love, love, love that he's scrubbing a Liberator in already.
Yeah, Liberator Harass is going to be pretty nice to be able to throw in there and just keep Cham a bit preoccupied until, yeah, stim is done. And now we can actually try and do these cute little push-outs because he's still got that Medevac alive. He's still got the opportunity to actually try and get some damage done over here with these units. He's stimming forward with 1 Marine to kill off that Changeling, buy a bit of vision. He's going to move out and, like you said, pair it up with that Liberator probably.
Do you think Changelings are related to the Pokemon Ditto at all? I feel like they gotta be in the same family, right?
Wouldn't it be great if the Changeling changed, but it had like really, really derpy eyes or something? Or like the Changeling always had like, you know, a Play-Doh gun or something super obvious that's wrong.
Oh, I'd love that so much. I'd love that. Nice pickup there from Special, saving most of his units. And this is one thing that Special does really well, is a lot of Terran players would be like, okay, well, he's got a lot of Lings and Banes out. I guess I'm done. I'll pick up and go home. No, Special's like, I'll pick up and I'll drop just a little bit off creep and keep this pressure on time and time again. He's going to continue trying to pressure Cham so that Cham can't move out with the Mutalisks, can't move out with the Lings and Banes until he's absolutely ready to commit to it. This is really smart play from Special.
Yeah, but the Mutas are going to be coming in at the perfect time over here. They're going to be able to snipe off potentially one of the Medevacs. I think they should be able to catch up just in time before, yep, they managed to get back to safety. One of the Siege Tanks doing some nice splash damage from a good distance away, and the Mutas actually even getting sniped over here. I like the usage of that Ghost. But I actually think that Cham is going to be really happy with how this game has panned out so far. He's sniping off a handful of Marines inside the main base. He's keeping most of the Mutas alive. Oh my god, please don't stall out over there. But yeah, I feel like he did a great job defending against the push.
Yeah, absolutely he did. Oh, man, just overstaying his welcome and tab these Mutas, but really not bad. Special's now been pulled to his main and to his natural. Luckily, he's going to reconstitute his army just outside the natural, but Cham setting up for a dual-pronged harass here. Mutas in the third base, and it looks like there's a huge swell of Lings up at the 3 o'clock position just waiting to make it into that natural.
Oh yeah, I'm actually wondering if some of them are going to turn into Banelings or something soon, because
there it is.
That could actually be, yeah, a really, really sick potential for a big counter swipe.
Sorry, I thought those Banelings were at the 3 o'clock. They're just in the middle of the map, and that's just fine as well.
I saw the production tab too.
I was like, oh good, he's doing exactly what the caster said he was going to do. I love it when that happens. Mutalisks will be pushed away there. Overlord speed on the way, and a bit of a surround here from Cham, but Special with too much firepower. He's got to drive him away, and Cham can't engage with that. But man, look how tight this is. 98 army supply to 100 army supply, Fear Dragon. Who's on top here?
Well, I mean, I think that with so many Banelings out and a decent amount of creep spread, I think that Cham has the tools he needs to push this back, but it's not necessarily a guarantee. The kind of interesting thing here to note for me is that Special, he's doing his pokes out, but he hasn't finished up 2-2. I think that's going to be a big moment for him. He's going to finish up 2-2 just a little bit before Cham finishes up his. And that's a little window. That's a tiny window that Cham and Special may not know 100% about. But it's going to give Special the opportunity to do something. But oh, Cham's going to find an opening with the supply depot wall. Comes raging on forward, trying to snipe out a few SCVs here and there. Lings trying to keep the Marines occupied while the Mutas dive into the main.
Yeah, and this is one of the really frustrating things about Submarines. That third base location is so far away from the main. You got to wrap all the way around to the natural, up the ramp and back to the main, meaning that Mutalisks are so dangerous, just bouncing between the third and the main here. And of course, there is just enough dead space on the bottom of the map for them to escape through that little escape tunnel on the south 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock position there. So a little drop in the main right now for Special, but he's not controlling it very well. There we go, finally getting it on. Some Lings here to respond, and Special just seems a little bit stressed right now. Down to 51 workers. I'm a bit concerned for him right now.
Yeah, he was really just relying on the fact that the Mutas would run out of the main base or reinforcements would be able to deal with them. But at the end of the day, the Mutas just kill off a handful of reactors. They kill off a ton of the reinforcements. Oh, but losing a lot of the Mutas on the retreat there. Suddenly, 14 Mutas have gone down. And this is the moment for Special to bounce back over here. He's going to have to pick up a lot of the Marines in this drop. He does end up losing a handful of them. But this is his chance to dive on in, to get in on top of that hatchery and shut Cham down. Is Cham going to be able to respond in turn?
Man, I just don't think so. Look at this siege tank spread from Special. This is the sort of stuff that gives Zerg players nightmares in their beds every evening. Like, these tanks this far spread apart. It's beautiful that Cham's going for a multi-pronged harass here, going for the surround. Let's see if Special can get out of here. The Bailing's still crashing forward. Right now. Special's going to lose an awful lot, though. Special, formerly with about a 30 army supply lead, now down to even army supplies, and the Lings and Mutalisks still alive. Man, a bit of a wash from both players. If you check that army size graph, you'll see that that was a slightly more efficient trade for Cham.
Oh, I think Cham's going to be so happy with how all of those traits work. He's going to have bought enough space that he can morph in more Banelings, and that's actually the only fear here, is that he wouldn't have the time to remake those Banelings, but he just cleaned up so much. And look at that big Baneling flood. As long as the siege tanks don't just massacre the Banelings, and I mean, they do get some pretty good shots off, I think that Cham should have enough to continue pushing these Marines further and further back. Remember, Cham has a stick economy. Special does not have a fourth base right now. He had to do damage with this. He had to look to almost end the game over here, and he's not going to. Cham will. GG.
GG indeed. What a follow-up from Cham there. That dual-pronged pressure from the Ling Bane army right in the middle of the map, running over everything Special had. A really great, that was a textbook engagement from our Zerg player, and I think Special just got caught a little cocky trying to put that pressure on. Granted, I was a little cocky as well. I was like, oh, Special's in a great place, doing the right thing. And then what do you know? Blammo, gone.
Yeah, really well done over there by Cham. I mean, I have to put it back to like the first big thing that ends up happening in that game, and that's the Muta harass. The Muta harass from Cham got so much damage done, really abusing the map, and like you were saying, darting between that third base and the main base, and he did it multiple times. Like, there was the first time the Mutas would just find the opportunity to get into the main, and Special had all of his Marines down there on the low ground of the third base. They were like just sitting there waiting for the Mutas to come back over to the third, because that's, as soon as you send all those Marines around, Mutas will just go back to the third. So Special's leaving them at the third base, but he's losing his reactors, he's losing his buildings there, he's getting slowed down, he's losing reinforcements, and Cham just finds all these little opportunities, and it just inches him further and further ahead, and by the time the big push comes, Cham is ready. Cham has more than enough units, even after all the Muta losses.
it was something we talked about a bit with Kelliger and Eric, right? Where Kelliger did a really nice job of putting Eric into bad situations where he forced errors out of him. And that was certainly a forced error out of Special. Where do I move my Marines? Do I leave them at the third for longer? And either way you choose, you still lose. You just have to decide which one you think you're going to lose the least amount of Marines on. Poor Special. Down 0-1 right now, and he cannot be happy about this. Remember, guys, Special's in Korea, and it's very early in the morning Korea time right now, I believe. Yeah. Poor guy woke up very early for this match, and hopefully he can pull it back together here for game number 2 on Eternal Empire.
Yeah, important to remember that Special Juanito is a pro player, and that means that his normal time to wake up usually is probably somewhere close to 3 p.m., and it's somewhere probably close to like 7 or 8 a.m. I mean, just unrealistic, deplorable conditions. How could we make these players wake up at the hours of like 7 or 8 a.m.? Just unbelievable, but Special's gonna have to deal with it, and he's gonna have to find a way to really, really wake himself up. Maybe a Monster Energy drink to power through and move into game number 2.
Now that was a very smooth transition. Excellent work there, Ravi.
Thank you. But yeah, next map is going to be Eternal Empire. This is going to be Cham's choice. It's kind of even signaling here that Cham really does want to go into a bit more of those macro games and everything here, as this is one of like the standard typical maps that you'd look at and say, well, macro game.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, the player's super familiar with it. Would not be disappointed at all to see a nice long game out of both Special and Cham here. These are two players who are excellent in the mid and late game, and I would not be disappointed at all to see them showing off their skills in a huge engagement somewhere on this rather large map. And it looks like we're live here on Eternal Empire LE. Spawning in the top right-hand side in the blue, representing Team Exxon and Mexico, it's our Zerg player, Cham.
And down here in the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have the red Terran player, also from Team Exxon. He is Special.
Now, Fear Dragon, we're getting close to the end here of the Latin American bracket, and I wanted to make a quick note here. I don't know if you saw the group stages for LATAM. Group A featured 3 Zergs and a Terran player. Group B featured 2 Zergs, a Terran player and a Protoss player. What is it about Latin America that favors that strong Zerg play? Why do we see so many strong Zergs in this region? Is it the influence of another famous Zerg player from the early days, Cats?
You know, I guess that is like not a terrible thought. I do think that it's been that way for a very, very long time, though. Like, as far back as I can remember, obviously Special has been one of the top contenders in Latin America since the beginning. Since the very beginning, back in the launch of StarCraft 2. I mean, actually going further back into Brood War, Special has been one of those active players. One of the very few really, really strong players in the Latin American region. But in those early days of StarCraft 2, Cham, Jim Rising, like maybe 1 or 2 others that I'm blanking on the names. I feel really bad because the exact same thing happened. This exact same conversation happened 2 days ago as well when I was talking with Roddy. But it's I feel like there's been this like surge of these Zerg players from Mexico specifically, but also just the Latin American scene. I feel like they've always sort of been the stronger thing. And I actually don't even credit that, oh, you know, Zerg is just so powerful right now, or it's not like, oh, Zergs in Latin America are so powerful. It's just, I think there's just more of them. I think there are actually just more Zergs in the Latin American scene.
It certainly seems that every Latin American Cup I ever cast, the final 8 players, there'll be 7 Zergs on average in the last couple of groups. They just seem to love it. So who knows what it is, but whoa. Look at what Special is doing in his main base right now, Ravi. That is about the greediest play I could possibly imagine.
3 CC right after that factory gets started on up and finished up. So yeah, this is going to be Special trying to play the long-term game and expecting that Cham probably picked this map thinking about, again, macro and playing for the later stages. He's still going to have the Hellion Harass and everything that can come on out since he's got the reactor factory. But it's definitely going to be a bit of a later follow-up when you go for this fast 3CC play.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, the third's down for Cham as well, which is nice. And as we said at the beginning here, looking like it's got the makings of a long game. But never count a Zerg player out. I feel like Zerg players are one of the unique races that at almost any point in the game they can just change their minds instantly and say, you know what, I was going to go for like a big solid 20-minute Broodlord Infester. Oh, God forbid Broodlord Infester, but like a Broodlord push. You know what? Change my mind. Ling Bane all in. Go.
You sound like Hero Marine after you just lost a ladder game.
I don't mean that as a
never
bad
underestimate.
thing. I think all the races have really unique strengths and weaknesses, but Zerg seem to be one of the ones to me that are much more able to turn their strategy on a dime, and it's tough to deal with sometimes.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right that Zergs tend to have very bursty production. That's kind of just the way that the larva mechanic works. So unlike, Terrans who have to have a lot more infrastructure to suddenly churn out a bunch of Marines, like you don't really work quite that way as Zerg, but you're also cutting a lot of corners. You're also cutting, really, really playing on a razor thin wire's edge to try and make that stuff work. Because make the wrong decisions in that sense, you end up just dying. Like it's one of the benefits and the negatives for Zerg. So I definitely agree with you. I think you're right on that. So with the fast layer coming on out over here for Cham, I'm expecting how that last game went. We're going to be seeing a lot of Muta play again.
I hope so. Cham looked so sexy with those mutas, man. Just really blocking Special in forcing him to play the game that Cham wanted to play rather than Special. And it's going to look really nice here in game number 2. But Special's already setting up for a pretty big attack with an early Raven here. Now, that's a bit of an interesting choice out of Special.
Yeah, didn't notice the Raven until now, but you're right. That is definitely an odd one. I mean, obviously, the nice thing to mention is that the Raven provides vision, and this is one of those things where you pull out the Battle.net forums, you're like, why doesn't every Terran go for a Raven in ZVT? Because I just think it's so good. You don't have to scan to clear up creep. And you're like, yes, you're technically right, but it's very difficult to keep alive, and it's a big investment to go for something like that. Special finding the opportunity to, though, he really has to clean up creep spread and everything to get value from it, though. Like, it's almost a commitment to say, I went for the Raven, I have to get value from it.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely accurate. And it's going to be very difficult, of course, to keep that Raven alive right now because the amount of units that fire at air units that Special has is very, very limited right now. All those Hellions, of course, will be unable to respond to any mutas that pop out. But Cham has actually spent a lot of minerals on things that are not Mutalisks. A lot of Overlords going down, even that 4th base getting started. So instead of starting the Mutalisk flock at 11 or 12, he's only able to crank out about 7 right away.
Yeah, kind of funny you were mentioning the Overlords. Cham has got a bit of a supply buffer in terms of Overlords and everything. He's at 148 supply. There's still another Overlord going to finish up 154. So he's got 50 supply left over to work with. But like you said, those mutas are still going to be popping out as he spends the rest of that gas mech. Not a huge issue that those mutas are popping out a few seconds later. But like you said, those are going to be great for pushing back that little Hellion force. But what about the Marines?
Oof, what about those Marines indeed? Look at this body blocking from the Hellions, forcing those Queens to take an ineffective path to get all the way back there. We see almost all the Queens going to go down here. The Mutalisks joining the fight. The Marine count getting very, very low, though, and I think that will be cleaned up. A better engagement than I thought for Cham.
A lot better than I thought. I really thought that Cham was actually going to be in a bit of trouble there, but man, those mutas actually not really end up going down as quickly as I thought, and now finding the Marines as they unload, snipes off a handful of them and backs off. Doesn't quite get the medevac, which would have been the really juicy play there, but the fact that Cham is taking winning engagements with with a Zergling Muta with no Banelings involved, that's actually quite surprising. And I mean, now he just gets to churn out more Mutas, churn out some Banelings, and this is where he's going to be able to get into that same style of game as last time.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, if he's doing this well without Banelings, wait until 25 seconds from now when Baneling speed finishes up, when he's got those Banelings, when his creep spread is able to push back a little bit further. A couple tanks here from Special to save that 3rd base. But the 4th base from Cham already churning. He's 10 workers ahead of his opponent, and his gas mining is off the chart. 2-2 starting up for Special, and that could be Special's saving grace here. Because, of course, Marines, when upgraded all the way, are terrifying.
Now, Cham is gonna end up bleeding out a Muta or 2 over here. It looks like Special is not happy with himself from that last game. He's really, really on point with the defense versus these Mutas this game. Gotta be careful with those medevacs, but yeah, plenty of Marines over here. The Mutas on their own without Baneling support is not gonna be able to contend with that Marine force. So Here comes the move out here from Special. Mutas will do their best to buy time. I think at the third base, there's a single missile turret, which actually is not enough. There's no Marines left back over here.
Yeah, I think if Cham focus fired that missile turret, he could clear out that entire third base, but it looks like Special has some reinforcements to drive those Mutalisks away as he pushes in to this inside 12 o'clock base from Cham. And this is something we saw in the previous game, where I thought Special was in a really nice position, but oh my god, he's made a huge mistake there. Gonna lose those last 2 tanks immediately, and the Marines pulled way far away from the field of battle. All 3 tanks cleared out instantaneously there. The splash damage for Special has been dropped down to 0. There's not a single splash damage unit on the field anymore. Oh man, Special getting jived again in another terrible engagement.
Cretan, Cham is kind of just dominating Special right now. Like, I don't, it's not that Special's dead by any means, but man, it just feels like Cham is picking up little victory after little victory after little victory, and they're starting to add up, and it's starting to reflect a bit in that supply. He's been able to tie up those upgrades. He's adding on a few more mutas. He's established 5 bases while Special is still struggling to find an opportunity to get up the 4th. And wow, I think that he's setting up for a 2-prong attack with the mutas diving into the natural at the same time. The rest of those units are looking to move into the 3rd, but Special's finally going to catch wind of this. Going to be able to push those back.
I love the pre-splitting from Special, by the way. He looks like he's being so cautious right now against those centrifugal hook banelings, because they are so fast, even off of creep. I know some of these players make it look really easy, but if you guys have ever played Terran, you can attest how very difficult it is to split those Marines very effectively. And look at this, Cham behind this. He's got the infestation pit coming down. He's working on 2-2, so his upgrade should be catching up soon, I hope. And we'll see Hive Tech eventually, but ooh, it might not actually come to that, Ravi. He may just go for a big fight here.
It's very possible. He's got a lot of his army geared up. Natural expansion is going to get dropped during the fight. A lot of the medivacs actually get picked off very early on. Cham's going to pull back, maybe so he has a bit extra APM. But oh my god, look at there's a second army back at home. This isn't like half of the army. Oh my god. He loses a lot of his army engaging. I actually really liked that he had just pulled back, but maybe he felt like, oh, Special's going to be distracted with his drop and microing it. I can take a fight. It did not work out how he wanted, though.
You know, it really didn't, but if you take a look at that army supply graph, you'll see that that fight actually a little bit more even than we thought it was going to be. It's so hard to tell when banelings are going off, at least for me, if they're, you know, super effective or not. I'd say that was about an even fight, but certainly not the fight that Cham was looking for, no. A nice defense by Cham back home, and once he musters his entire army up and pushes across, I don't know what Special's going to do, man. Cham's on 5 bases now. Special's still on 3, just barely finishing up his 4th command center, Ravi. Whew, I don't know if the upgrade advantage is going to be enough to save him.
Yeah, Cham should have just caught wind of the medevac drop that's heading over to his natural. It's just Widow Mines this time. And the mutas are going to be on the retreat. There's so many mutas right now, 27 of them. Cham's also got quite a few banelings left over. These Widow Mines going down. I guess he's got 8 Widow Mines, so it's not going to be the end of the world. I was going to say, those Widow Mines are going to be pretty important for dealing with the banelings, but if you just catch the banelings on the retreat, well, that's also a really good way to handle them.
That's real rough, and while Cham does have a pretty impressive bank, I'm not sure that he wants to build nothing but Ling Bane from now on. I'm sure he'd love to be looking at more Hive Tech units, dropping down some more of that tech. So Special catching all those banelings going to buy him just enough time to get in here and start to pressure the area between the 3rd and the natural. This could be a really scary push from Special, especially if Cham is out of position. Oh, never mind. Special's not going to go for it. Cham's going to bring him all the way back home with this baneling and Mutalisk run by. Oh, Special abandoning his post there.
Oh, this is actually, this gets really, really weird because yes, Special's going to be brought all the way back home, but that also means he's going to be more in position to deal with this Bane run by over the low ground is what I wanted to say, but the mutas are actually distracting all the Marines, so now the banelings come rolling on in and they get to the other side of the planetary, so that means a handful of the SCVs are going to fall as well. He gets a lot of them. Still his banelings alive.
A huge win there for Cham, and Special worked so hard and took so long to get that 4th base down. And this is something we've seen several times today, Fear Dragon, is that it looks like Cham is not going to look to like go for the jugular and win a decisive fight here. If he can just keep slowly choking Special's economy out, Special's not going to be able to really put up a good fight here, although he does have a pretty significant army supply advantage and a couple Thors mixed in as well. Whew, this is going to be a doozy of a fight, Fear Dragon.
This is such an important fight over here for Special. He has to take it, and he's going to have to take it on creep. So banelings are able to roll on in very, very fast. Mutas are all on the red. The Widow Mines go off on them, so barely any of them survive, but doesn't matter. If Cham cleans up the entire ground force, that's it. He can just continue to shut down that 4th base. That is still not established here. Cham maybe starting to overcommit a little bit, is gonna have to pull back, but I still think, even with the trades that Cham just took, which were definitely not good for him, I actually think it's reasonable. It's not great, but it's reasonable for him.
Yeah, look at the problem Special's having right now with this infrastructure. He's got 1,600 gas in the bank, but he simply doesn't have enough minerals to build the Marines that he needs to really fuel this bio-army engine. Cham can continue to throw units at him over and over again. Sure, he's used up his bank one time, but he's on 5 bases now. Could probably grab a 6th if he wanted. Special's going to push in really aggressively here because he knows that this is one of his last chances to really put the screws to Cham.
Okay, he's going to try and push on in like you were saying. Widowmine's going off and actually knock out some of the mutants. There's not that many lings left over. Nice micro with the Thors. He's barely starting to push on through. I think he will be able to snag this hatchery kill, but he has to run back against the Banelings that are going to be able to find a kill on the Thor and a handful of the Marines. If Cham is barely able to defend that hatchery, it's going to be great because, again, the force base got delayed for so long. Cham ends up losing the hatchery. He's making more Banelings. It's not over yet. Cham is still up in supply, and he's still chasing Special back.
Important to note that all of Cham's supply advantage is in worker count right now. If you look at the army value, you'll see that Cham has a way bigger army value than Special does, surprisingly. Not something that I expected to see. Cham in a really solid position, and now that he's overrun the natural, Special forced to defend all the way back home. This is going from bad to worse. For our, I was going to say for our Mexican Team Exxon player, but that's both of them, isn't it?
It really is. That's a good point. But here's going to be the big thing, is that a few of these Lings and Banelings are trying to bust on into the main base. If Cham is able to get on top of the production, he's going to be able to knock out any of these Marines that are popping out as they actually spawn. And that is the worst case scenario for a Terran player. Cham doubling the supply. 2-0 for Cham in this best of 5. My God. Cham looking so handsome, looking so powerful right now. We're going to give Special Juanito a moment of silence to prepare himself for game number 3. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't go anywhere as you're watching this epic best of 5 where Cham is on the verge of 3-0ing Special.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to what I'm calling the thrilling conclusion of our day here at DreamHack, both Europe and now Latin America, as we are going into Game 3 in possibly the most unexpected result of the day. Is that fair to say, Fear Dragon?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is inarguably the most unexpected result of the day, or the biggest upset of the day. We've had a few upsets today.
We definitely have. The EU was full of them. We were just talking in the break that generally the EU region for the last couple days has been ticking along fairly normally, but today seems to be the day where a lot of breakout players are really making their move, seeing guys like Marine Lord pop out, and now Cham, currently 2-0 over Special as we get into map number 3, Death Aura LE. This map should be Special's map choice, but that didn't seem to help him in game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, to be entirely frank, in this best of 5, Special is the one with a death aura around him. He is very, very close to death right now. This is, again, going to be one game away from him being knocked down, not necessarily out of the tournament just yet, but down to the lower bracket. It's not exactly a fun place to be, because he will have to face off at that point against Kelazor, who is not a bad player. Kelazor is not a fun player to face off against, because he's not afraid to take risks. He's not afraid to find little openings and find the right way to maybe take you down. So Special is definitely going to want to be able to move into that grand finals with a nice little 1-0 map score victory. That's the dream. But Cham, gonna look for one more victory here. One more victory, one more game. Close this out and finish this clean sweep.
Well, let's intro our players then. Spawning in the bottom left-hand side, in the blue, it's our Zerg player from Team Exxon and Mexico. His name is Cham.
And up in the top left-hand corner of the map, spam your Doritos for Juanito. It is Special.
I figured it out for your dragon.
Spam your Juanitos?
No, you said. I think you said it correctly.
Okay.
It's been a long day of casting. I don't know what I said 10 seconds ago. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But,
well, you know, if you're a Special sub, then you should definitely spam your Juanitos. I'm sure he's got a special emote. I'm sure he's got an emote of himself.
Yeah, I think it's a Dorito chip with like his face on it, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you know, I have seen that. I have seen that around.
It's equal parts adorable and terrifying, all at the same time.
That's one of those things.
Well, the drone from Cham makes its way back home here after checking out what's on the other side of the map. And we are just going to see a hatch gas pool build out of Cham. So a very safe standard build here again in game number 3. No proxy racks, no 12 pools, and no cannon rushes here in our final series.
Yeah, Creighton, can I complain about this map for a moment? If we go down to the natural, sorry, you don't even. I don't even care if you approve it or not.
Okay,
I'm doing it.
No, sorry, you're just talking at me. Go.
Okay, so like down on the bottom side, over at Cham's natural. Take a look over there. At Cham's natural. There we go. Yeah, you see how there's like that little diagram thing that's on the hatchery. I hate that it's not aligned with anything. It's like it's just kind of there. My OCD seriously kicks in. Well, you can't see the signs anymore. There's those little markings on the ground. And it's not symmetrical with how the markings are on the north side of the map. It's not on top of the hatchery or like on top of that little area where it's like completely obfuscated by the command center or Nexus or anything. It's just there, and it's just kind of off. And it's not even symmetrical. Oh, it drives me insane every time I play this map.
Oh yeah, I always think that mapmakers should throw some more of that kind of stuff in, little skill checks like, yeah, you get the little circle on all the other maps, or on all the other expansions, but the third base, if you spawn at the top location, is off by 1 tile. Deal with that, players.
That's actually just mean. You just have it off and you're like, ha ha ha, you're gonna naturally want to throw it on your command center right on the circle, but what if that's the incorrect place?
I'll grow a long, snidely whiplash-style mustache and twirl it while cackling evilly. That's what I'll do. Perfect.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I do know some of the map makers, and I'm like, you know, some of those map makers have gotten some hate for some of the maps that they make, even though I think they're quite wonderful maps, and they end up being beloved eventually. And I'm like, you know what? I could see them. The revenge plot there. They're like, you guys didn't like Arena, but it ended up being a really cool map. You guys didn't like Golden Wall, it ended up being a really cool map. Well, how about this? Get back at you in the most subtle way possible.
I really hope that Agaton and Maris and Polar Chibi and a couple guys are in the chat right now, take it furiously, scribbling notes in their legal pad, like, yes, yes, that's what we can do.
Yeah.
Well, we got a third base for Cham, and Special's already working on that Liberator Harass, which he tried in game number 1, but to no avail. He didn't get much done with the Liberator Harass. I like the opener so far, very standard stuff. No crazy early third for Special this time. A little bit more of a standard build from him.
Yeah, most definitely. Special was able to get a nice snipe off on the first creep tumor as well, which still being the active creep tumor and everything. So was able to shut down a little bit more of that creep spread going on out. That's a nice start for Special. So kills off that Overlord nice and early on before it gets actually too much information there for Cham. But Cham has seen pretty much what he needs to see, where he's seen the tech lab on the barracks. I'm gonna assume he's not thinking it's a ghost play again. That's probably not the case. He's probably gonna just assume it's a good old quick stim coming out there from Cham. Or sorry, Special.
Right. Oh God, circling with stim. You just made me shudder. That sounds horrifying. Gee,
imagine them moving even faster.
Ugh, it's like those when they're in the zippy zones in the middle of this map, those green acceleration zones. They're terrifying there, and then trying to imagine with stim also. Just awful. Nice defense though here from Cham. He's going to be able to drive those Hellions away. Oh man, I thought he was going to go for the surround there. Not committing, but the Hellions also not really committing, not able to move into the natural. And that does mean that Special's going to be able to get a couple extra kills, but not really the damage he was looking for here in the early game. The Hellions going to keep poking and prodding, but there are just too many queens out for Cham. Cham on 6 queens already at the 5-minute mark.
I mean, a nice job from Cham for sure, but actually I have to say, like, this is a really nice bit of aggression there from Special, because he doesn't lose anything. Actually, he literally didn't lose anything. He gets all of his Hellions alive, keeps this Liberator alive, still kills off 4 drones, and forces out some lost momentum. I'd actually say that was a really really nice start there for Special.
You know what? You're absolutely correct. I rescind my previous statement and substitute with your own.
No, I agree. Like, if any of those units that end up going down, or like usually the Liberator honestly ends up dying there most of the time. I actually am totally with you. If the Liberator dies there, I'm like, yeah, that was pretty good defense from Cham. Like, that actually went pretty well for him. It's pretty even, but I do like it just in this particular situation for Special.
Yeah, good control. The Spire going down from Cham. I don't believe Special spotted this Spire yet. Shouldn't come as too much of a surprise to him, though, because Spire play has just been so efficient the entire, not just this series, but the entire day, if we're honest with ourselves, Ravi. And now we're going to start keeping our eye on Cham's minerals and gas to see how many Mutalisks are going to pop out once this Spire finishes.
Yeah, he might want to make a few Banelings pretty soon here, because even though he's not going to have Baneling speed or anything, there's a decent number of Marines that are now out. And the Spine Crawler is an interesting touch here. I guess it buys a little bit of time, but honestly, that 4th base looks like it's just going to fall. There's no way to save it.
I'm getting flashbacks to the Stefano game where I was on Death Aura and he couldn't keep his 4th base.
It's just forever ingrained in your mind now. For like 3 years from now, it's going to be like, I remember this game on Death Aura.
Fear Dragon, he lost that base 6 times that game. Of course it's going to be stuck in my head. A really nice push, though, from Special. As you said, Cham needs to get some Banelings on the map. Right now, the Baneling count at 0. He's trying to get some more Mutalisks out, but the Marines, oh my god, the Marines will finally get cleaned up. And the Hellions will as well, but 10 drones behind this. Oofa doofa, that's rough.
That was a brutal attack there from Special. Yes, everything does get cleaned up. Yes, Special might be down a little bit of supply, but that was all he ever needed. 12 workers killed. He's got enough of an army back at home to make sure he doesn't just insta-die to some counterattack of the Mutas or anything. And Special looking really, really strong in game number 3. He is angry. He is upset. He is not happy with how this series has gone, and he's here to rectify those mistakes.
Yeah, he is. This is the Special's going full Hulk on us, right? He's getting angry, and we wouldn't like him when he's angry. Finally, Cham adding on +1/+1. Finally, adding on centrifugal hooks for those Baneling speed. But it might just be too little too late here, as his upgrades are way behind Specials. These Mutalisks really need to get some damage done if he wants to make this a much more competitive game.
Well, I mean, all of the Marines did have to go over to that 3rd base, so it's just the Marines popping out in the main. A snipe off on a reactor is not a bad start. Ooh, barely keeps all of the Mutas alive. Doesn't end up losing any, so not bad, not bad.
I love that I can hear both of our abdominal muscles tightening at the same time as we're like, oh, Oh!
More than just the abdominals tightening for me.
I feel like Smix has already added on enough toilet humor this cast. I was trying to stay away from that region.
That's fair.
We finally have +1 flyer attacks coming down, but unfortunately, Cham's going to get driven away and finally will lose a Muta here. The Mutalist flock peppered down by these Marines just a little bit. Special's doing a nice job defending back home while also setting up a counter punch.
Wow.
7 o'clock position.
Okay, Cham is going to come in over here. It is not the move that I would have guessed he would go for, but it ends up actually working out okay. The SCVs on a hold position really do mess with the AI there, but this is turning into a quasi-base trade. There's a lot of overloads going down, though. Cham needs to rely on reinforcements. Both of these players are relying on reinforcements to deal with the counterattack, and Cham's not going to be able to. He only is going to have the Banelings and Lings he's making right now.
The only good news for Cham is that his base trade started just a couple ticks before Specials did, so we can already see that SCV number starting to drop just a little bit. Gonna buy him a bit more time. Melee attacks finishing at the very nick of time there. So +1 melee will finish up. That's really gonna help out with the Mutas or with the Lynx and the Banes rather. And the Mutas will finish cleaning up Specials tanks here. Oh, I'm a little concerned that Specials running out of gas, even though he is slightly ahead on army supply.
But it's now just Marines facing off versus Mutas. There's no way that Cham can take that fight with 3 medevacs healing these Marines. GG's just gonna get called. Cham taps out and Special puts one on the board finally.
What?
Wow.
What? What was Cham thinking? Engaging straight into stimmed up Marines with nothing but Mutalisks. A very odd choice there from our player. Maybe he was under pressure and thought it was his only option. But that's a really rough fight to have to just watch those Marines taking target practice on some Mutalisk confetti cannons. Oh,
well, yeah. At the end, it definitely makes sense. Like you have to do something, right? The Marines are just gonna kill everything otherwise. But the decision to dive in there into the natural of Special with just the Lings and the Mutas.
Yeah.
I guess he felt like this is the moment. Your Marines are probably over at the 3rd base. I can kill off half of your army. You're like move down the map a little. Maybe he wasn't expecting that the army was actually already sitting at the bottom left-hand side, ready to move into those 30. He felt like there was a little more time. But man, just it's so tough to base trade a Terran player like that because, you know, the Terran player's units are going to take damage and they're going to get healed back up by the medevacs. Right. The Zerg army is slowly going to be bled out unless you literally get in on top of all of the barracks with a large enough army that you just overwhelm them, that every single Marine that pops out just instantly dies. And that's just not what happened.
Yeah, not quite that critical mass that he needed. So Special finally puts his first point on the board. Man, these Latin American players having the bravery, the courage, the tenacity to do what those European players could not and come back after losing one single map today.
Well, you know, those Latin American players, they got a lot of grit to them. They definitely have that. Dealing with a player like Special in their region for so many years, you got to learn how to develop that grit. It's that or you just accept that you're going to take 2nd place or 3rd place every single time. No, you're eventually going to learn to fight back. Those are the players who stick around at the top. We're starting to see that fight from Cham, but Special, like you said, putting one on the board does mean that Cham has 2 chances left to end this series.
2 chances left to end the series.
I like it.
Yes. Well, let's hop into our map here. We're on Ice and Chrome LE, spawning in that top right-hand position in the red, representing Team Exxon in Mexico. It is Juan Carlos Tenia Lopez, Special.
And down in the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have the blue Zerg player still sitting up 2-1. He is Team Exxon's Cham. Very hardworking player. Both of these guys actually. Special, I think, very well known for the insane amount of hours he puts in, the crazy amount of practice he puts in. Right. I actually also have a lot of admiration for Cham's work ethic, as he is definitely one of those players that doesn't always get a lot of the recognition for it, but he actually does put in quite a few hours. He's always playing in those online events. He's laddering on the grind constantly looking to improve himself in whatever way possible and kind of put himself out there. So I have a lot of admiration for both these players for their work ethic.
Definitely. Cham's one of those players I can count on. I work with a lot of smaller online tournaments, and Cham's one of those players I can count on. If the tournament happens between like 3:00 p.m. my time and, you know, midnight my time, there's a 99% chance that Cham is going to show up. and just try to wreck stuff, because he's so good and so scary in those online tournaments where you don't really have time to prepare for your opponent, and you just kind of fly by the seat of your pants and just play the best StarCraft that you can at the moment. And that's one thing that really separates out DreamHack a little bit from other tournaments that you might have seen or watched. That these players do have a day or two or sometimes 3 to prepare for that next opponent, and I think that changes the strategy a whole lot for these players.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think Special is usually the one you would consider to be better with those preparation situations. But hey, who knows? Maybe Cham has been getting a little bit better at it. I think Cham has actually been on the opposite end of that usually in the past, where I'd actually say he was a bit stubborn about his play, and he was a little bit stubborn about the way he would approach a series and kind of play his style or his game, even to a bit of a detriment. But I think he's, whether it be that this is just his normal style, this is kind of what the meta looks like these days, or if it's actually something that he was specifically trying to get better at for Special, either way, whatever the reason, Cham has been looking really good this series so far.
Yeah, it's so great to see. Not just because upsets are fun to watch and like surprising results are really, really exciting for viewers and casters and everybody alike, but just to know that players are still putting their hearts and souls into this game that we have all put our hearts and souls into for so long. And they're what's the phrase that I can only barely remember from Home Story Cup? They're bringing passion back.
Bringing passion back. Yeah. Well,
you're welcome, chat. That'll be stuck in your head for the rest of the week.
I'm so thankful that right now I'm a little too brain dead to remember exactly how the beat of that goes. But
oh, don't worry. I'm sure 35 people will send it to you on Twitter very shortly, Ravi.
Oh, well, thank you for reminding me. Close my Twitter right now. We do have a third CC, I believe, on the way back at home for Special. So he's getting ready for that next little setup, but there is the Fusion Core being added on. So we're getting a nice little mix up here. Special gonna be adding on those battle cruisers. We'll see how he's gonna be able to make this work. Because again, even though there's a battle cruiser opening, there are so many different ways it transitions out. How many battle cruisers do you get? Do you go for mech or bio behind it? How do you use the battle cruisers? Do you get Yamato cannon? Do you try and go right after the Spire? Do you teleport in, or do you walk in and teleport out? Like, there's so many different ways to execute the battle cruiser opening.
And a really nice opener here, a really nice start to his battlecruiser opener from Special. If you notice, that Overlord from Cham got in, saw that he was making a Viking from his naked starport with no add-on, and had the barrack with the tech lab on it. And then as soon as the Overlord was dead, the Viking was canceled, the swap over occurred, and the battlecruiser is now coming out. So Cham may be laboring under the delusion that this is just a more standard build right now for Special. And I think Special perfectly okay to get rid of that Reaper, as if to sell the story that he's going for something a little bit later than a battlecruiser is going to hit.
Yeah, also important to note that the Reaper did move in and scout out the gas geysers, or rather the lack of gas geysers, so it does eliminate some potential options, even without getting into the main base. You know, okay, if you don't have any of your gas geysers here, you probably don't have a lair that's already started and everything. You're probably not going for a really fast Spire, even though I haven't seen your drone saturation at the 3rd just yet. Now he pokes forward and is going to also confirm that there, but this definitely shores up some potentials. And oh my god, I think that Cham just had like this moment of realization of like, oh, battle cruisers, and threw down a ton of spore crawlers to deal with this.
The only non-Protoss game where I can safely say that a player has had a revelation where he's realized what's happening. And yes, you're absolutely correct.
I like it.
5 of those spore crawlers going down. Unfortunately, a very bad position of the spore crawlers for Cham here, as there are none underneath the battlecruiser. 4 queens shelling away, and these Lings and Banes can be driven back by the Hellions. Right now, the battlecruiser just softening up queens. Nothing has been killed just yet. There we go. 1 queen down.
Yeah, spore crawler is finishing up a little bit further back, and another queen pops out. Honestly, I was with you. I was really worried because I was thinking, oh man, Cham was just hard countering that the battlecruiser would teleport into the main, because that's 80% of Terran players. They'll just teleport it straight over to the main, but Special's doing the mix up here. He teleports it over to the 3rd with the Hellions there. And Cham is just he's got enough queens. So he actually accounted for the battlecruiser being at either the 3rd base or the main. He gave us some defenses at the natural, but that's not where it ended up popping out. It was a good identification there from Cham.
Yeah, really well done. A nice kill, not a cancel, by the way, on that 4th base again for Special. So Cham stuck on 3 bases right now, but a little big run by, driving Special away from the third. All the Hellions on the other side of the map. That's so effective, and they're going to even get on top of one of those Hellions there. Hellion goes down. Marine's going down. SCV's pulled off the fray. These Lynx are doing an insane amount of damage.
Yeah, the Hellbats are going to try and do some counter damage over here, but the Battlecruiser has to teleport back home, not only because it's getting low on hit points, but also to help deal with those Lynx. Hellbats now roasting and toasting a few drones, but it's only 2 drones going down. There's plenty of Queens left over, and it's even body blocking these Hellbats from getting into the main. Special, definitely the one that's taking more damage right at the end of all of that.
Clutch hold there from Cham. That Queen on the ramp is the MVP of the early game so far. Not the Battlecruiser, not the Spore Crawlers, but that Queen stopping the Hellbats from walking their way up into the main and roasting all the drones, not just from the main, but from the natural that had transferred up there as well. So really nice save by Cham. Behind this, Mutalisks finally coming out, and Special trying to add on Blue Flame. Is Special making it happen this game?
He absolutely is. He's getting up the Cyclones, which are going to be, quite frankly, the only real answer for now against the Mutas. There's, I guess, 2 Widow Mines also around, so they might be able to snag a couple of lucky kills here and there. But those Cyclones have a very, very important role over here, and I'm a little worried right now, Creighton, because I think pretty much everything just moved out. He's going to catch wind of the Mutas, move it across the map. I think he realizes he has to get back home.
That feels like a record scratch moment where the Cyclones were like halfway across the map and then turned immediately. Like, you're probably wondering. Realizing that, of course, those Mutalisks on the other side of the map can draw them all the way back. Nice defense, though, by Special. They're getting him just in time and may actually pinch these Mutas. No, they do make it out alive. So great defense by Special. As I said, I was a little surprised to see him moving across the map so aggressively there. But he made it work in the end, and he finds himself in a decent position. The real problem right now, if we look at that income advantage graph, is that even with Mules, Special is still only barely ahead of the income of Cham over the course of this game. And Cham on 5 bases now to Special's 3.
Yeah, also, this is not going to be quite the same style as Eric was playing, where it's just lots and lots of Mutas nonstop. It's also not the same mech style as we saw earlier. So that's going to be that battle mech, and that does mean that this army is going to be a lot more mobile. It's looking for these little tokens, lock on, and kill off as many units as possible. The Roach is here to buy space. They got a lot more hit points. Is it actually enough over here for Cham? Oh man, Cham might actually really need to pull those Mutas back. He's pulling them back now, but I think it might even be a little bit too late. Most of the Cyclones survived. A few Corruptors going to be coming on out as well to help out versus the Battlecruiser. Is this actually enough? Okay, Cham is going to survive. He takes some damage, though.
He does take a bit of damage. Special. Oh, he's trying to bait him into this Widow Mine. Oh, the Widow Mine! The Widow Mine! Oh, God, not like this. Not like this. Cham realizes he's up against Battlemech and finally is able to change and transition into that Ravager play. 9 Ravagers now on the way, +1/+1 getting started immediately. But that was a really rough opener for Cham. Cham was previously way ahead in income, and now that lead has been lessened considerably.
Yeah, this is, I mean, having the Roaches and Ravagers out is going to be very, very important over here to try and just keep those Cyclones and Hellions back. As they get those lock-ons, try and break them with the Corrosive Vial. Zoning them out is going to be really, really important here. But I do feel like, yeah, a lot of the advantages that Cham had garnered in the earlier stage kind of gone at this point. Like, those are some really, really effective trades there for Special. Now, my question here, and this is actually, it's less of a question, more of a fear. But, okay.
That's half your name.
I was about to say it, but Cham is addressing it. Is that Cham, I feel like, does have sometimes a bit of a reputation for not teching out quickly enough when it gets to these kind of situations, but he throws on the infestation bit. This is actually the fear I had, is that he wouldn't get a Vipers or he wouldn't get a Fungal or something to deal with this. He's actually doing it. He's doing it right now, and it gives me so much relief.
Yeah, fungal growths are so good, man, against those Battlemech armies, because the Battlemech armies rely on their speed, their agility, and their prowess to take down those units, and one good fungal growth can deny them all of those things. The Battlecruiser, of course, poking in, more multi-pronged harass from Special, and he's even got that scouting barracks in the middle of the map, just checking out everything. I love this from Special, not wasting a single opportunity to squeeze value out. But look at this. Oh my God, this Battlecruiser going to get so much damage done. 9 more drone kills. That's going to put Special in the worker lead for, I believe, the first time this game, Robbie.
Yeah, took the lead for a few seconds before more drones pop out, and Special is going to be out-workered by 92 workers. My God. Cham is really going for the I have more stuff than you kind of game, which can be a little bit dangerous, but there's that hive coming on up. Cham really doesn't want to take massive fights for a little bit, but Special is getting closer and closer to maxing out. This actually might be hitting the time soon where Special is looking to get up in Cham's face.
It's funny, in a previous game, Special had a real problem spending down his gas. He had several thousand gas in the bank and no minerals. And this game, well, he's just made a bunch of mineral units, but previously he had about 1,500, 1,600 minerals as well. So one of the challenges of going mech versus going bio is dealing with your bank in different ways. We'll see if Special evens out his production here eventually, maybe scrubs in some more Hellions. But so far, these Hellion run-bys have just been absolutely gorgeous from him. Nice snipe, though, from Cham.
Oh, I cannot believe that is actually going to get away. And a lot of the Corruptors are going to get locked onto. Oh, boy, that's actually really annoying. He's going to have to remake those because that one Battlecruiser is still alive, and that's really the only answer is those Corruptors. Here comes the big push out that we were talking about, though. There's not actually that much creep spread either. Cham going to have to get into position. Is he going to have enough over here to defend this base?
You know, I'm not sure what the answer to that question is. We're going to see him come in from several different angles here, but Special is also set up on several angles. A huge battlefield right now for these players, but it looks like Cham is just not going to have enough. Each of his flanks getting destroyed by tanks on the backside, Cyclones on the front side, and even these Banelings just misfiring. So it's looking more and more like Special's going to draw this series even into a game 5.
Okay, Cham is going for the ultimate big tech switch. He's just making 23 mutas. He needs to buy a little bit more time over here. Corrosive Vile's not really connecting on the tanks in any significant way. He softens them up, but that's basically it. The base is going to go down. Only 8 workers have died so far, and the mutas are all about to pop. Those mutas have to demolish the entire army over here. Before Cham takes too much more damage. Battlecruiser getting low. Tactical jump is off cooldown, but I think the Special might be a bit busy dealing with all the mutas. This is one of the record scratch moments where the mutas have to go. They have to kill almost every one of these siege tanks before they get back home.
This is so interesting. Oh my god, if this Widow Mine wrecks these Mutalisks for the second time this game, okay, a better shot this time because they weren't already weakened. But Cham actually is getting on top. There's nothing else that shoots up. Special is desperately making 5 Thors, but it's going to be a while before those Thors get out, and only 2 Widow Mines on the way as well. This is the chance that Cham has to get on top here. Oh my gosh, I can't believe Cham is making it work with this tech switch. What a ballsy maneuver.
It's such a difficult decision. What do you go for in these situations? Do you just go for tanks? Do you go for workers? Do you go for the production? He's going to be dancing around. He's killed off a lot of these units, but oh my god, Special. He finds an opportunity to get some of those siege tanks he had made that would have just been dead at this point if he had brought them home, but he gets them across the map. He's going to take out a hatchery. Special is getting the Thors out. The mutas, they're magic boxed a little bit, but they're taking so much splash damage. Is it actually going to be enough? Oh, there's 2 more Thors that pop, and that will seal the deal. The mutas are going to get pushed back, but more roaches arriving in. Oh my god. This game is turning into an absolute... I have no other words for it. It's a circus.
Circus is absolutely the correct word for it, Ravi. We see 3 more Thors on the way, but the Roaches camping that production of Special. Special forced all the way back home. Cham still mining, but Special is not, and that's the biggest difference right now. Who cares about the worker count if your workers aren't actively mining? Oh, Special's got 1 base mining, sorry, and there's a whole lot of mules on the 3rd base. But the Roaches are camping the production right now, and the army supply for Special is dropping precipitously low.
Oh my god, not just camping it, he's killing the production. 2 more Thors are about to pop out, but those Thors are also going to get taken out. Ravagers ravage all the mules on the low ground. Oh my god, I think that Cham is doing it. He may have lost that bottom base, but he is, like you said, still mining at the top left-hand side. He's killing off the orbital commands. He's killing off the production. Special has 41 army supply, and he's actually still losing a lot of it. A lot of it's just the tanks that retreated back home, and those are getting picked off.
I don't believe this. The Mutalisk switch back into Roach Ravager at 15.5 minutes. An unorthodox strategy to be certain. This last siege tank is all that Special has, holding the door, but it is held no longer. Spoiler alert, that tank is not going to make it through Season 4 of Game of Thrones. Oh no, SCV's going down, and Special going down as well. An unbelievable